What's up, guys? Tar Heel Will here. I got a very exciting episode today. I want to talk about my 5 top players, favorite players. My top 5 favorite players, not my top 5 players, but I want to talk about my top 5 favorite players during my lifetime, not including Michael Jordan. I'm going to not include him because I was 1 when he was at UNC, 2, I think, 1 or 2. So I'm not going to include him. So I'm going to talk about my favorite top 5 players. Now, when I was going through this list, it definitely was. I knew the top 3 for sure, and it may not be the top 3 that most people would probably think, I guess you can say. But it's my top 5 favorite players, and I do feel like I probably could go and do this list again, and it'd probably change at least one person. Because after I started writing this list and doing it, then I started realizing, I started going back and forth. But I just stuck with what my top 5 were. So starting off, number 5, Raymond Felton, old Ray Ray. He was on the 2005 National Championship team. They won the championship against Illinois, which is I remember that game like it was yesterday. That team right there, that 2005 team, was one that's when I started going to a lot of games like on my own. I think that was actually the first game that I ever got to go see in the Dean Dome was the 2005 year, or maybe 2004. But it was that team for sure. So that's when I started going to games a little bit more, and I had players that I definitely was watching. But he helped bring in the 5th championship. His junior year, he won the Bob Cousy Award, and he averaged 12.9 points, 6.9 rebounds. He was on ACC first team. He also was put on the EA Sports March Madness video game that they came out with back in 2006. He was on the cover of that. I have that somewhere. He was in a 2005 draft pick, 5th overall to the Bobcats. He also went with Sean May that year. Him and Sean May went to the Bobcats together. But Felton on that team was one of the fastest point guards I ever saw play. He moved the ball pretty well. That team gelled. He was a leader on the team. Also, he's from South Carolina, which I'm from South Carolina, so he's from like 3 hours away from where I am, so I'm going to stick with the home state boy. So I'm going to go with Raymond Felton as my 5th. So for number 4, I'm going to go with Eric Montross. He was on the 1993 championship team against Michigan when Chris Webber called the infamous timeout. But you know what? Even if he wouldn't have called that timeout, he should have got called for walk twice before that even happened, but we're not going to talk about that. But we still won the national championship that year. He stayed all 4 seasons. He averaged 11.7 points, 6.8 rebounds, and 1.2 blocks. He got drafted in 1994 to the Boston Celtics, 9th overall. But what I remember about Eric Montross, definitely the bloody nose game. Or was it the bloody nose or something? Yeah, something like that. Or cut above the bloody eye. Tyler Hansborough was the bloody nose. So, yeah, what I remember about him is that team, the 93 team, I was in 6th grade, and that's when I remember, like, fully going invested, like, watching North Carolina games, paying attention to what's going on, to the rankings and things like that. I can remember it like it was yesterday, watching the national championship game, when Chris Webber walked twice and then called timeout. Like, that was a very nerve-wracking game. I was jumping for joy on my bed. I remember I was in 6th grade, and that's the season I remember, or that year is when I remember it clicking that like I was all about North Carolina basketball. I know I was a fan a couple years before, so but that was when I remember it clicking. I just remember watching Eric Montross. I liked the way he played. He dominated down low. I'm a feed it down low type guy. I'm old school, even on my teams that I coach. That is my game plan. Speed, and feed it down low, and Aaron Montross was just getting it down low, banging, and I just like this toughness, and I just like that whole team was great also. But that's my 4th pick. Now number 3, I feel like my number 3 and number 2 could go back and forth depending on what we're going to talk about. What do you want to talk about? What do you want to compare? But I'm going to go 3, Vince Carter. He was on the 97-98 team, 15.6 points a game. They lost into the Final Four that year. It was him and Antoine Jameson. Vince Carter, as we know, is definitely a high flyer, plays above the rim, can bring the game. He played multiple years in the NBA. But with that team, I remember I thought they were going to win it all. With him and Jameson, that combo was lethal, in my opinion. Carter was definitely above the rim. You pretty much could throw it up there. He was going to go get it. He was excited. The games were exciting. Like, they brought the heat. So his energy and everything he brought to the game was why I liked him. I actually have his Orlando jersey in my closet. I don't have a Montross or Felton jersey, so I might need to get one of those if they still exist or not. But he was 5th overall in the 98 draft to the Golden State Warriors, and then he was traded to Toronto for the 4th pick. So he ended up in Toronto, where he had a pretty good career, and he played a long time in his career. But Carter was definitely exciting player. He was a player that you wanted to pull for. You know, that's what you want, those type of players. He was good. I mean, he was a good person. He was smart. I mean, he did it the right way. All right. So but like I said, I feel like these two are intertwinable or whatever you want to call it. But this player, the reason why I'm going to go with him, because he was actually the first player that I've ever got an autograph from. Okay. But this player would be my number 2 favorite player since in my time frame, Antoine Jameson. What I mean by autograph, I was at a Panthers game. I think it was like their first season at their new stadium, not when they played in Clemson, South Carolina for the first 2 years or something. It was when they finally had their first, it's Bank of America Stadium now, but it was called Ericsson Stadium or something like that back then when it first opened. And I took a friend, and we went to the Panthers game. We were walking around there. I remember there was not many fans there, and we went to go get some French fries. And I was just sitting there, and I was getting some French fries, and I looked at my buddy, and I saw this big old tall player come walking by, and I was like, I knew his face. I was like, that's Antoine Jameson. He was like, Antoine who? No, this guy didn't really watch sports. He didn't really know. And I was like, Antoine Jameson. But I didn't see people walk up to him. I didn't see anybody like come to him. So I was like, maybe that's not. And then about a minute later, I hear, Antoine Jameson. And I hear all these people yelling down there. And all I had on me was a dollar bill. And I went over there and got him to sign that dollar bill for me. I still have that dollar bill to this day. But he's the reason why I kind of started chasing autographs there for a while, a few years back, which I still do now, but not as much as I used to. So, but yeah, that was the first player that I got an autograph of. So maybe that's why I have more leverage to put him at number 2 in my list, because I met him personally like that. I've seen Vince Carter too, but it wasn't in that. I have Vince Carter's autograph on a ball. I think it may be that ball right there. If it's not that one, I have another one that has Vince Carter on it, but I know that has Phil Ford's autograph on it. I'm looking at it right now. But Carter may be on that one, but I'm not sure. I'll have to check. But I have him on the other ball if I don't. But, so he played 3 years. Antoine Jameson played 3 years. He was averaging 19 points and 9.9 rebounds a game. I just liked him because he was quiet. He played down low. He was quick. He had a quick turnaround. Like, he would turn before the ball even got to his hand, and he would be making his move. So you wasn't quick on your feet down low. He was going by you. He was smooth. He didn't talk trash. He let his game play, and I don't know. It was something about Antoine Jameson. He wore the number 33 also, which that was a number of mine that was favorite back in the day. 23 is always my favorite, and then number 9 is second. but 33 was one that I wore back in the day also. So maybe that was why, but I would go Antoine Jameson as my number 2 in my top 5 favorite players of all time. And let's get number 1. All right, so here we go. So my number 1 player, that my number 1 favorite player during my time frame at UNC is Tyler Hansborough, Psycho T. Now this guy came in and shattered most records. He dominated. I got his autograph when he was a freshman, and I stayed after a game, and he kind of walked off to the other side, and that was the only time I was able to even see him or get his autograph, was when he was a freshman. And I have a program somewhere also that has the Tyler Hansborough and Danny Green and all of them when they were freshmen. I got all of them on there. Ty Lawson, Wayne Ellington. I got all the starting 5 that year when they were freshmen. So, but Tyler Hansborough, after that year, that's when he blew up, and you never saw that guy again because he had to walk out different ways. He was the top player, but he dominated. His senior year, he averaged 20.7 points, 8.1 rebounds. 2008, he won all the major awards. He won 6 National Player of the Year awards, the Associated Press, U.S. Basketball Writers Association, National Association of Basketball Coaches, Sporting News, Naismith, and Wooden awards. Okay, and at that point, when he won all 6, he was getting his number in the rafters. So on February 10th, 2010, which February 10th is my birthday, so this even makes it even better. They retired his number against Duke. Another fact is he swept Duke at Duke. He owns that. He never lost in Cameron Indoor. He went 13th overall to the Indiana Pacers in the 2009 draft. Now, the thing about Tyler Hansborough was he wasn't a highly recruited player. Roy Williams found him, I think, at like a AAU game when he was looking at somebody else. Found him, he brought him in, he changed him. You know what I mean? That guy came in and dominated. He had definitely not the typical game play that you would think. He had some weird looking shots, but they went in. He had a heart. He worked hard for everything he got. There was no days off for him. You can tell that group right there, when they all came back for their final year before they won the championship, I knew 100% that they were going to win a championship. Not one time did I have any doubt that they were going to lose the championship that year. If I had money at that time, I would have bet my life savings because I knew. And then they played Michigan State in that championship game, which Michigan State that year was a good team. But honestly, in that game, I had no doubt. I think I had more. I panicked a little bit more, I think, when they played Villanova. But when they got the national championship, I knew they were going to be. They owned that game from start to finish. There was no doubt in my mind. But Tyler Hansborough was just a player that came in. He was coachable. He didn't really brag. I mean, talk junk. Now, later on in his senior year, junior year, yeah, he got a little bit more physical because people were coming at him. I mean, he broke scoring records. He broke rebound records, free throw percentage records. I mean, name it. He was trying to get it, broke it, or whatever during his time. And he was definitely, he stayed there to prove a point, and he did. Stayed 4 years, got his degree, and moved on. Now, he went to the NBA. He didn't have, so I haven't been feeling too well lately, but he went to the NBA and had a decent career. Now, he wasn't a star player, which honestly, I knew he wasn't going to go to the pros in the NBA and dominate like he did in college. I just knew. He didn't have the body frame, just what everybody said, I agreed with. But as a college player, he was one of the best that I've ever seen or watched in my lifetime. And I could be biased because he plays for North Carolina, but I mean, there's been players that come after him that I've seen play and that are good, but I don't feel like there's been many players that came in and changed a culture, created a culture at UNC, and it was Tyler Hansbrough. He was the man. Like, you didn't mess with Tyler, and that team together was a great team with Ty Lawson, Dan Green, Wayne Ellington, with Deion Thompson maybe, yeah, and there was Jackie Manuel. Was it Jackie Manuel? Maybe, but I'm getting confused on my players because there's so many of them. But there was a lot of players that were there that were great, and he is one of them. I saw Armando Baycock just broke a record of his, so I mean that's good for Armando. I didn't realize Armando was that close, but you know that tells you something about Armando Baycock that makes you think about some things. But Tyler Hansbrough is the man. I don't care what you say. You can come at me and argue with me all day long about who's the best player in college basketball during our time frame from 1980. Let's just say 1982 and on, because I'm 42 years old now. So Tyler Hansbrough is one that I would put up against anybody. College game. Let's not talk about pro game. We're talking about college game, and you couldn't stop him. He was unstoppable. When he got mad, he got determined, it was on. So, but that's my top 5 favorite players of all time. I am going to do my top 5 overall players of all time video coming up soon. With that's going to be a hard list because I don't know if I can narrow it down to 5. I might have to do top 10 just to give me a wide range, because some of these players I could probably, if I went back and did this list again, I probably could change at least 2. I know Tyler Hansbrough and Sean Jamison would not come off this list. Carter and Montross probably wouldn't either. I think Carter and Felton would be the 2 that could be on the chopping block, because Carter, I mean, honestly, I could have put Rasheed Wallace in Carter's position, but I'm going to say Carter because I just liked his style of play. That's what I liked. But number 1, Tyler Hansbrough. Let's show the jersey one more time. So for all the haters, there it is. That's what you need. Boom. There you go. Best overall. If you got a problem, leave a comment in the video. We can talk about it. We can whatever you say, but I'm gonna tell you right now, you're never gonna change my mind. But so that's my top 5. Everybody have a great day. Peace out.